What's up, everybody? Finally finished the build guide that some people have been asking for. Uh, so, if you've been here before and you just want to skip straight to the guide, go ahead and be a timestamp down at the bottom. But I did want to include some gameplay before the guide, just for anybody that might be new, because I know personally I kind of really hate it when I click on somebody's guide or tip or anything like that, and there's just no gameplay, and then you look at the rest of their channel and there's just no gameplay anywhere. It's like, the whole reason I'm clicking on this, because I want to see if this thing actually works for you, and two, I want to see if you're actually good at the game. Like, is your opinion worth anything? So, I hopped into a couple of PR matches, just so I had some gameplay to put up. And I was getting a little bit nervous because the first two matches that I went into, I had more kills than everybody else on my team put together. And they weren't like insane games by me. It's not really what I'm getting at. They was just running into like literally nothing but new players. So I was kind of worried that the new MMR system might just be like completely broken, just forcing solos to play with solos or something. But I think it just took a couple matches to like give me a rating or something, because eventually I at least finally got this match where I was still top kills, but there was at least people fighting back in this game. Because the first two, like, it really wasn't fun for anybody, kind of thing. Definitely wasn't gonna like put gameplay of that up like it was like some kind of flex, just knocking on new guys or something. But I did want to say that for anybody that might be new, like, even though you're watching, like, I'm recommending what gear to get, like, I really wouldn't stress about getting like the best of the best gear, like, as fast as you possibly can, or else you can't do PvP. Like, if you watched either one of my last two videos, I was using less than 700 gear score items for a lot of my pieces, because I wanted to test Gen head wrap with a couple pieces of invigorated gear, and I didn't even have max stacks of that a lot of the time, because I wanted a piece of gear with King Berserk on it. So my last two videos have been like super scuffed gear, but this video, this is like basically perfect, exactly what I want for the most part, armor wise and jewelry wise. The weapons, this is basically as good as I can get for now. I just got the island hatchet and upgraded it, but it's like a 1.5 burger basically, but it's just the easiest way to get a 725 weapon. So I was super excited about the penetrating crits perk. Like, I thought that was going to be good for, well, I kind of just assumed there were going to be a lot of heavy players after the patch, especially with all the new people, and there definitely are. But it's only slightly better against heavy players than just having vicious. I mean, I guess if you have both, like, that's not too bad, but it's only slightly better against heavy players, and it's basically the same against medium players as vicious, but vicious isn't conditional, and it's actually worse against light players. So it's not nearly as good as I was hoping it was going to be. Like, my definitely like hope I can roll something close to this hatchet would be refreshing torrent, always penetrating backstab, and the third perk would either be just vicious or plate crits. Either one of those I'll be pretty happy with either way. But I can't upgrade any of my artifacts yet, because AGS had to disable them. The upgrade recipe, I guess there was some kind of bug with it. So I'm pretty much stuck at the gear score I'm at right now, which means I'm like one piece of 725 away from being able to get a free 5% damage, essentially, with getting 25 intelligence, which I don't take right now because I wouldn't be able to hit my other attribute thresholds. So I can't upgrade the artifacts, and I can't upgrade Inferno. So until I can, you won't see me play Inferno at all, because you might have heard me talk about in the other video, for some reason the extra damage with your offhand weapons working for some people, but it wasn't working for me. It turns out I basically got punished for actually playing the damn thing before the patch and having it upgraded, because my previous perk that I had on there got wiped and replaced with a bugged version of the original passive. So not only does it not do extra damage with the offhand, I'm actually not doing any extra damage being close to people, even on the fire staff itself. So my Inferno is super chalked until I can finally upgrade it, which I'm in no rush to upgrade that one anyway. I'm going to do Serenity first, then probably my Blood Drinker, then Darkplate, then Scorpion Sting. I might even do Jin before Inferno, so Inferno might be like 2 months from now, because I'm not doing the any of the new PvE stuff, the raid or the worm. So pretty much relying pretty heavily on coconuts to upgrade all my stuff from the PvP island. But basically just going to use the crates to try and just RNG roll a new hatchet. But I'm mostly going to be 700 gear score pieces for the most part anyway, because the armor from the crates can't even roll invigorated, and that's kind of the whole point of why I've re-rolled a lot of my gear, because I want invigorated as many stacks as I can get, short of wearing Jin head wrap, because I went back to avoid darkplate for this video. Some diminishing returns on CC would be pretty awesome. I almost get away here, get yanked back in. I'm like, alright, well, I'm basically dead, so see if I can at least take one down with me. But I hope you guys enjoy the guide. Alright, so start off with the armor. If you watched any of my stuff before, you know I'm really big on self-sustain because I always do everything solo, PvE, PvP, doesn't matter. So for this build we have 4 stacks of Enchanted Ward, 1 physical aversion on Void Darkplate, and 4 stacks of Invigorated. We also have Relentless Freedom on the gloves. This is just more stacks of our default perks on the pants, that way I can swap them for any build. And Keen Berserk on the boots. So got close enough on Shirking Heels, close enough in my opinion for stacks of Enchanted Ward, and I got the 2 weapon perks that I really want. But I might drop Relentless Freedom just to be able to switch in this perk. So Finch brought to my attention last time I mentioned this that the dot reduction part, the part nobody cares about, stacks up to 3 times, but the actual 10% haste you get only stacks once. So I only bought 1 of these. I'm going to put it on a piece that I'll just not have a weapon perk on. That way I can use it for any build I want. But the whole idea with running max stacks of Invigorated, because a lot of people would call this a dead perk, they auto salvage it, they don't even want to try it. But for me, like health and refreshing, those are auto salvage for me. Couldn't care less, don't want them, waste of a perk spot. So it all depends what you want for your build. You'll hear different people recommend all different things, but I have so much self-sustain on this build that when I'm diseased, it's a really big deal. My damage is already reduced because I run Blood Drinker, so if I get hit with a weaken, also a big deal. It's also less lifesteal I can do. And Rend is just bad time for everybody. You don't want, just try and get it off you as fast as you can. So that covers the armor. The jewelry, I always run Divine because it boosts your Shirking Heals, it boosts my life stealing, it boosts your potions, and it boosts the once every 10 OPR matches when I get a heal from a life staff player. Thrust protection, I always recommend everybody runs some kind of protection on every amulet, because this is absorption, not extra armor. So it's way more powerful than like fortification, or like new fortification I should say. So this 15% would be the same as having 3 thrust resistant gems in your armor. But your gems are very important for the same reason. Your gems, so like I'm 20% slash resist. That's an actual flat reduction. Like whatever their final value of damage they were going to do to me was, you just chop 20% off the top. So absorption is very strong, but I typically hate gem a lot. Some people call it. Basically, whatever's killing me the most lately, that's what I stack all my gems against. Some people run even 10-10 split, 4 opals, 4 onyxes, and just have a little bit of resistance to everything. I would personally much rather just gem against the crap that actually kills me, and anything else I'll just deal with that when I run into it. But Shuriken Power got a massive buff, so basically when you dodge one attack, you only have 7% power for 10 seconds, but you're basically on a timer to dodge another attack. So if you dodge another attack with only 1 second left on the countdown, it'll reset, and you now have 2 stacks of 7% for 10 seconds. And you can do the same thing again for your third stack. So dodging one attack every 10 seconds isn't a very big ask. So you can pretty regularly, as long as you're like in the mix fighting people, especially as a double melee build, keep this up for 21% in power. So this is like the best additional damage you can get as far as like any kind of amulet perk goes. So for me, these 3 perks never change. If I can roll these 3 perks through the RNG boxes on the island, cool. Otherwise, I'll just be running this until I do. Blood Drinker. You'll never see me play pretty much anything without Blood Drinker. I just like having extra self-sustain. Like I find ways around the 25% less damage, just as much crit as possible, as much empower as possible, finding ways to add more base damage just to make up that difference. So even with this, I still end up hitting harder than like pretty good amount of people if they just build their build weird. But I tried Keen Awareness for a long time on the ring just because pretty much all the weapons I run really benefit from crit chance, but the 7% in power for your slash damage is just way more consistent, and it's just been more beneficial to just have this. Just feels better overall. I finally got this. It was actually on the trading post for pretty cheap. So saved me from having to craft it, but we'll do Fortifying Toast last. So regenerating, I just always run because basically your other option would be Nimble, your extra stamina regeneration rate, and Nimble is pretty terrible. So you might as well just take the extra free health. This is also boosted by Divine on your amulet. I take Healing Heart because whenever I pop my heart rune, this is also boosted by Divine. Basically, as soon as I hit it, I get 11% of my health back, and then on top of that, I just realized I never upgraded this, but it is what it is. I take the one that just hits as hard as possible and leeches all the damage it does. So this is just boosted out the ass by all the perks we have in this build. So a lot of times you'll see me just pop Dark Ascent, and I'll go from 1 HP to full. So this is just like a break glass in case of emergency button for the most part. Finally, Fortifying Toast. Because we're running Void Darkplate, and it just gives us a flat 20% extra armor all the time, like that on top of Fortifying Toast is just insanely strong because you can have almost 100% uptime on this. Empowering Toast is alright. Like if your build is struggling for damage, Empowering Toast is still a good way to go too. But I just really like Fortifying Toast. So you see I'm at 2200 physical armor right now. So this is why I also carry mana potions, even though I'm playing a build that doesn't use mana. I pop a mana potion before I go into the fight, and all of a sudden I'm 2600 physical armor. Like, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I just highly recommend it for medium and especially heavy players. Like, it's kind of busted in heavy, honestly. So that's it for the jewelry. For the hatchet, this definitely isn't the hatchet I want, but this is the easiest 725 gear score hatchet to get. You just get it from the island. You buy it at the Well of Fortune, and there's no way I'm playing a hatchet without pen backstab on it. So I basically have pen backstab, don't really care about keen, and like I was saying in the beginning of this video, this perk, not that great. If it was at least vicious, cool. If it was refreshing torrent or keen berserk, cool. But I'm definitely going to replace this as soon as I can. I always run a moonstone on my hatchet, so I don't like, specifically because of the way I play, I don't like using a rune glass unless it's going to increase my damage other than just the rune glass itself. So blood drinker, my 25% lifesteal, well, and the 7% lifestealing, that only counts basically like the big meaty number of damage you're doing. It doesn't count all the little extra damage over time effects you have. So the damage over time effect doesn't do anything for our damage, but it does decrease your moonstone from 20% extra damage while your abilities are on cooldown down to 17. The reason I run a moonstone is because this works while berserk is active. So basically pop berserk, throw social distance just to get it out of the way, and it puts a 10% slow on them, so they take another 10% damage because of the 200 strength node. And then basically dodge, so you're not full stamina because of 100 dexterity. Charge a heavy attack because that gives us 15% in power. Throw out your torrent, and as soon as you hit torrent, that ability immediately goes on cooldown the second you hit the button. So your torrent is boosted by 17% base damage, and every hit after that, while your berserk is still active, is also boosted by berserk and the moonstone. So the reason we want the damage over time rune glass at all is because of this passive here. So if you could guarantee that you were going to get the slow on somebody from social distance, great, you wouldn't need the rune glass. But sometimes you don't have social distance up, so the damage over time rune glass counts as a debuff. So losing 3% on our moonstone is worth having 100% uptime on our exploitation passive, just to make sure everyone we hit constantly has some kind of debuff. Serenity, this one's super simple. Take it to the kiln, you put a gemstone on it, or a gem slot I should say, and I put a regular moonstone on there. There's no reason to have a damage over time rune glass, so we take the full 20%. So a lot of people will take the damage over time rune glass because it is more damage overall, but most people don't play blood drinker, so they don't need to worry about getting as much lifesteal as possible. So if you don't play blood drinker, pretty much just want to put a damage over time rune glass on all of your weapons, because every tick of the rune glass also recharges your heart rune even faster. Every tick counts as a hit, basically. So if you're not running blood drinker, definitely just dot rune glass every weapon. But Scorpion Sting, for now I have penetrating backstab on it. I'm not 100% sure when I upgrade it to 725 eventually if I'm going to stick with this or not, because it is really nice when it does connect, but it's not super consistent. Even when you javelin somebody that's facing like 100% away from you, sometimes you still don't get backstab when they're on the ground. So haven't decided on that one yet, but cross that bridge when we get to it. And I'm not even carrying my Inferno right now because mine, like I was saying earlier in the video, is just completely bugged. So we'll go over we'll do attributes quick first. For Hatchet greatsword, I go 300 strength, 100 dex, 200 con. And once I get one more piece of 725 gear, I'll be able to make these all flat even hundreds and take 25 intelligence for the extra crit damage. Both these weapons benefit from extra crit just because Serenity greatsword normally wouldn't, but with the trenchant crits perk that it has, it does. And if you don't have Serenity, honestly, there really isn't much of a close second place right now. So I was kind of hopeful that the one you can get from the island might be some kind of petition for Serenity, but it's just really not. Serenity just hits harder than any other greatsword because of the illegal perk combo. But it's completely RNG when you end up getting it because it's a PvP reward track artifact. You can ignore the extra 4 points in a con. I just like it because it puts me just barely over 16,000 and it just looks better than 15,800, whatever. Skill trees. My Hatchet tree. So I stopped taking this passive because Finch pointed out that this has a stupid long cooldown that it doesn't tell you it has. So basically, if I swing 4 light attacks and like the first one and the third one are crits, I'm only going to get 10 stamina back most of the time. So it's really not worth it. And this one, I don't really like taking it because then I don't have the ability to block, but it's coming pretty handy chasing people down on the island. And also, if you're going to try to knock somebody off their mount with your hatchet, it might seem like a good idea to just hit them with a basic throw, but a lot of times I always try to knock them off with social distancing because unless they have the charm that cleanses them when they get knocked off, their mount is way easier to hit with social distance than just a regular throw is. So the 1 second root doesn't matter, but they will still be slowed for 5 seconds, even after they're knocked off their mount. So that gives you a lot of time to close the gap. So always use social distance if you can to knock people off their mount. Start with these, the passives. So this is mandatory, basically, no matter what kind of tree you're playing. This can be an extra 50% base damage if you're just fighting in the clump. It should be a no-brainer. I take this passive, not really for the heavy attacks, but because of the abilities. So if somebody's under 30% health by the time I get to the last swing of Torrent, they're just gonna explode. It's gonna be a big hit. I hit some light players over 4K with just the last hit of Torrent sometimes. I started taking this a while ago just because it makes for a really nice combo, especially with all the self-sustain and armor we have. It's not that big a deal to charge up a heavy attack even while somebody's attacking you, just to get a really beefy torrent. Let's see. I always take this one for the extra crit chance because Hatchet has a very high crit damage multiplier. And we already talked about this one. This is basically a free 10% base damage. And I really like having this one because a lot of times if I'm throwing social distance and then dodging immediately after to try and create space, it'll take less stamina. Or if I'm in the middle of a fight and I want to throw out Torrent and then dodge mid-fight to try and get a Shirking and Power proc, it doesn't burn nearly as much of my stamina. So this one's just kind of nice to have. As far as the greatsword tree, somebody actually asked me why I only run 2 abilities. It's because basically I want as much uptime on my Moonstone as I can possibly get, and playing with just 2 abilities makes it a lot easier to do that. Also, playing with Crosscut tends to slow me down because I don't want to throw it out unless there's a good opportunity for it. So a lot of times I'll be attacking, doing heavy attacks, but my Moonstone isn't active because it's not a good time to throw out Crosscut. Same thing with Steadfast Strike. A lot of times my Moonstone isn't active because I don't want to put this out and put myself into Defiant Stance. So basically what I use it for is Relentless Rush to put a slow on people, and then as soon as I do that, I'm already in Onslaught Stance, so they get hit with a 15% rend and a 20% disease. So this is why we don't need the damage over time rune glass. So I always take this because Serenity has Trenchant Strikes, so crits are important for Serenity, not so much for any other greatsword. But I get extra crit chance when I'm attacking somebody that has a debuff. So damage over time rune glass would be good, except this puts a slow on them. This puts rend and disease, and because of this passive, all of my heavy attacks put a stack of bleeding on them. So if I do anything, they're pretty much guaranteed to have a debuff. I don't need the dot on them as well. A lot of people don't take this one just because it only applies for people that are above 90% health, but it's such a nice bump that there's no reason not to take it, because if you just catch somebody off guard, you can hit them pretty damn hard. You definitely take this one. Armored penetration is very strong in this game. This is like the equivalent of somebody having like 25-30% rend on them, just at all times. Anytime you hit them with a heavy attack, it's one of the big reasons Serenity is just so good against heavy players, because along with the armor penetration and the rend, on top of that, it also has like basically the fastest heavy attack charge in the game because of onslaught stance. So as long as you're in onslaught stance, you can just rapid fire basically heavy attacks and just drain their shield as fast as possible. You definitely want to take this passive because you're going to have a lot of greatsword buffs on you if you follow this side of the tree. It just empowers here, this one energized, you get haste. Like, you can be at this cap pretty easily, so this is just free damage. I definitely take this one to get the grit. So a lot of times you can basically just, if a player doesn't really know what they're doing, you can kind of just grit through anything they're trying to do and just spam heavy attacks and just kill newer players. But it also comes in handy against more experienced players too, just so if they throw out a sweep you weren't ready for or something, you just grit through it. A lot of people don't take this one, but this is actually super handy, like especially since I play double melee on the island, and there's just, ranged players everywhere. So a lot of times if I get caught off guard, this will proc. It'll reduce the damage I take, give me a fortify, and I can go straight into blocking anything they're doing. And if I block long enough, it'll put me in Defiant Stance. So Defiant Stance gives me a flat 15% damage reduction to every kind of damage. It's stronger than having an entire gem set. An entire gem set of 4 Onyx 4 Opal is only minus 10 to everything. So this, just going into Defiant Stance makes you just tanky as hell. Plus, if you're kind of like back against the wall, don't know what to do, you go block for 2 seconds, go into Defiant Stance, and then that procs the Defiant Stance version of Adaptive Rush. So we get another 15% heal on top of Blood Drinker. So it's a pretty nice burst heal if you're like just running out of options. I didn't used to take this passive because I kind of just skimmed over it for a long time and never really tested it. And I always just assumed you had to get a kill with Relentless Rush for this to proc. I never really thought about it, but I went and tested this, and it's any kill you get with your greatsword. So basically, if you Relentless Rush somebody, hit them with a heavy attack, the heavy attack kills them, like, you're going to have Relentless Rush up almost immediately again, because this passive gives you 10% cooldown reduction on your heavies, and Serenity has Refreshing Move, so it's just super fast. The spear, you can pretty much ignore these two. This passive, like final passive on the bottom of the tree, is just so much better than this one. It's not even funny. So it's just worth throwing away 2 points into any random ability. It doesn't matter which one you pick, just to unlock Exploited Weakness. Because all we really need on this side is 1 node of Cyclone, because we're just using it for the damage. So when people are running, a lot of times I'll stop them in place with the hatchet, social distance, use the 1 second route to damn near guarantee that I land javelin. And then when they land at your feet, you have enough time to light attack cyclone, and the second that you see the damage number from your light attack, immediately hit the button for cyclone, and it'll animation cancel you drawing your spear back in, and instead it'll immediately go into the animation for cyclone, and you have enough time to get off both while they're on the ground. And since cyclone puts the slow on them and you just hit them, it reduces their dodge roll distance. So a lot of people, first thing they do when they stand back up is panic dodge. So basically what you want to do is wait to see which direction they dodge, just match their direction, dodge towards them, and sweep stab. That's enough to kill a lot of players. On top of that, since you're going dodge into sweep stab, you'll proc this passive, which resets your cooldowns because of the dodge, and then I also take this one because this stab counts as a heavy attack. And they finally fixed this passive, so it's safe to pick this one again. My fire staff tree, I don't think I've changed anything here for a long time. I started taking this again because Lacquer's Punishment got nerfed a little bit, so not that worried about it. And none of the other passives are really that impactful. If I was playing with intelligence scaling, I would take this passive over one of these. But since I play Inferno with strength scaling, the dots, the smolder dots, don't really do any damage anyway, so lasting 20% longer really doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, I think that's about it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Oh, yeah, so I explained 300, 100, 200, plus 25 int for Hatchet greatsword. For Hatchet spear, I play 200, 200, 200, and then 25. For if you get just a different greatsword and then pair that with Scorpion Sting, I would go 100 strength, 300 dex, 25, 200. I always play 200 con. I know that's a lot more con than most people play, but again, I always play solo. So having the extra damage on top of Void Darkplate, on top of Fortifying Toast, it just ends up stacking up a lot. So kind of beefy and a lot of self-sustaining survivability. But anyway, sorry, I think this ran a lot longer than I planned on, but hopefully you guys found this helpful. And yeah, I'll see you on the island.